Welcome to Reality with Kiki. I'm your host, Kiki, and on this channel, we discuss reality TV, celebrity gossip, and viral topics. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. You can also follow us on our Facebook page. A link will be in the description box below, and we also have it linked in our bio. All right, so Love and Marriage Huntsville. So we start this episode off at Melody's office because she said that Kimmy wanted to get everybody together for the comeback group so they can make a decision on what they are going to do with that business. So Marcel's the first one to show up, and him and Mel are talking about how everything that went down at the race and the things between her mom and his mother-in-law, and he's just like, yeah, agreeing that Wanda be saying some things that are out of pocket. And Mel's just like, that's interesting that he's saying that because last year he was trying to say that he had a sex tape with my mom being, very disrespectful. So anyway, they move forward and everybody else is starting to show up. Martell's the last person to show up to the meeting. And Kimmy is just going over basically how, like, either they're going to dissolve the comeback group or they're going to work at it, move forward. So they get into how, like, 2 years ago, Mel said she didn't want to be involved with them. She said she removed herself from the group. She doesn't want to be involved anymore. But now in present day, she doesn't want to be involved for different reasons. She doesn't want anything to do with Martell. So he's claiming that um she felt like this before, and she was like, no, the reason I didn't want to do the comeback group previously when we met was because that we had conflict with almost every person at this table. And he's like, well, the conflict was because of you. And she's like, no, it wasn't. And so he's like, yes, it is. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Here we go again. All y'all do is argue. And everybody else is just sitting there quietly because honestly, what do you do in that situation when these two people keep arguing? So she's just like, I rather continue to keep doing what I've been doing, and I want to move on from this. And Martell decides to say, oh, what, like neglect your kids? And then he gonna get up talking about some, oh, I'm out. So why would you do that? One, she already told you that it's triggering to her. Two, it's just like you always trying to be the person to get under her skin. You want to be the person that's the last. You want to be the person who has the last word. It's so petty and it's so childish. Now, I will say in this instance, Mel should have ignored him, right? Like he was making faces and stuff, so she just started in on him, and that's how the arguing started. But at the same time, you don't have to be petty. And it's just like they can't never get nothing done. Y'all can't never go nowhere. Y'all can't never do anything because Mel and Martell are going to be arguing. Nobody want to hear that all the time. Yeah, so basically on his way out, they're like, "Come on, Martell, like really?" And on the way out, Mel is like, "Well, if I neglect the kids, then why didn't you ask for full custody?" And he was like, oh, I did. And at one point, you told me, yeah. She was like, what are you talking about? Just a month or two ago, you told me you was going to give me full custody. And I'm just like, I don't believe anything that come out his mouth. He's such a liar.
So Martell says this as it's his week to have the kids. And he grabs the kids from Melody office. That's where they were waiting while they were having the comeback meeting.
So after he walks out, Mel is just like, I don't understand why y'all want to do business with him. You see how he is. Why are y'all so dead set on having this comeback group? It's not going to work. And Marcel is saying, Martell is a good businessman. He's proven himself to be a good friend, but he chooses to lose his cool when it comes to Mel, and I don't think that this is going to work. So next thing you know, Martell is calling Melody because their oldest is in the car crying. He's like, she's crying, she's inconsolable. I don't know what to do. So she's like, all right, bring her back. And so as Mel is like trying to take her out the car, like, come on, come in my office so she can figure out what's wrong. Martell is like, oh, come here, sweetheart. And it's just like, no, you had to lean on Mel because you didn't know what to do. And you really think that you should be the custodial parent? Okay. So he's claiming that she got upset because that office space that smells used to be a shared office space with her and Martell when they had their business. And, she's the oldest, so she remembers everything. And that just made her upset. I guess made it more real for her that, like, they are separated and this is pretty much done. That's what he said. I can't say whether I believe him or not just because, like, I wasn't there. I don't truly know.
At the same time, Martell is known to lie and to try to spin narratives to make himself look good. He left that office in a rush, and I'm sure because he was angry, probably called somebody and was going off, but like at the same time trying to speak in code. But Mariah, being the oldest, she probably figured out that you were talking about her mother, and that's what upset her more than anything. And that's why you weren't able to console her because you were talking bad about her mother. That's what I think. But again, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't say.
So Marcel and Maurice go out to play tennis and they're having a conversation about what happened. And Marcel is basically just like, Martell can't control himself. It would not be smart for me to out and go into business with him. My business name is on the line and I don't want my reputation to be ruined, or I don't want to have to constantly go around apologizing for things because one of my partners is not able to control himself. He said, I definitely don't want to be in something where Mel is involved because he has shown and proven himself that he's not able to control himself. And so it's just like Martell tried to go behind Mel's back and he tried to get one up on her, but it backfired because the person that you wanted to use to help you get that upper hand is no longer willing to work with you. So then Maurice gets into how they went to their session with Dr. Francis. Uh Initially Marceau is really just not trying to hear it because he's never trying to hear it when people are trying to talk to him about therapy and or Dr. Francis. Maurice, talks about how it helped him. Marcel is just like, I'm just gonna work through it, and I think you can too. I feel like you guys overreacted about the depression thing, and Maurice is like, you can't tell people that love you that they overreacted when you say something like that. Okay, so Melody, Tisha, and Kimmy meet up, and they're just having a conversation. They're discussing Martell and Melody and their arguments and their blow ups, and Kimmy is just like, how can we support you through that in the moment? What role should we play? And I just thought that was like a very mature question to ask. You want to be of assistance to your friends when they're going through a tough time. And Mel's just pretty much just like, we can't be in a room together. So, like, if you guys are doing something, like, I really wouldn't care to be around. And she just was like, Kimmy was like, is that where you are? Like, you can't
be together at all? She was pretty much like, yeah. And I'm just like, well, it is what it is. I think it's a shame that, like, neither one of y'all can ignore each other or just not say anything to or about each other, right? But what can you do? So then they move on to the issues between Tisha and Kimmy. And this is, stemming from the Whitlows and their anniversary celebration, where Tisha thought it was appropriate to confront Kimmy and Tiffany for not responding to her text or whatever about the Destiny race. So essentially, Kimmy is just like, I didn't think that you should have done, like, that wasn't the right timing. And you didn't do it in the correct order. Why did you send a group text when you typically call me? Tisha's like, oh, she's saying something about that because we weren't in a good place. And it's just like, no, I'm saying something to you because I always participate and I always support you. And you always typically call. But I think more than that, it was just like she was trying to confront her in front of other people. And if we have the type of relationship that we're supposed to have as sisters or sister-in-law, like, why did you think that that was appropriate? But Tasha just, I don't know. It's just everything is always on Kimmy. Every time they have a falling out, it's always Kimmy. Kimmy did this, that, and the other. And it's never her fault. And I just felt like in this situation, like, you should have called Kimmy. Because Kimmy is just like, you know, I told you I volunteered. And you're like, oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the check. So you are concerned about a check being written when that easily could have been a phone call. Like, I agree with Kimmy to, like, do that in the group setting. I don't think that was appropriate. And you try to put it on Kimmy like, oh, she's saying that because we in a bad place. No, you did that because y'all were in a bad place, and you did it purposely and meticulously. And you want to talk about accountability? Like I said, I don't know if that therapy is working because you don't never want to take accountability for your role. Okay, so then we move on to Martell, who is at a work construction site. Him and his business partner are, I don't know, they're rebuilding or flipping or building a house. And his partner is just talking to him like, yeah, man, so what's going on with, like, his studying for the home builder's license? And he's like, yeah, I got motivated for one night. And he like, one night, like, you're supposed to be getting the license. And Martell's like, well, you already have the builder's license, so we good, we partners. And he's just like, yeah, but I want you to have it too. And it's just like, he went on about, I'm not really good with tests and all of this stuff. And I'm like, and you know what? That was probably another reason why you resented Melody, because she's smarter than you. Even though you should have looked at that like a plus, I really believe that he resented her for that. So next thing you know, she's FaceTiming him. And he like, oh, what's going on? He like, oh, I messed up last night. This is what he telling the business partner. So she's like, oh, I want to meet up with you. I want to see you in person. We need to have a conversation. I want to pull up to wherever you are. So eventually she pulls up and she's like, we need to have a conversation about respect and boundaries and what that looks like. So he's like, okay. So she's like, yeah. So last night I saw you. Why did you come up to me? So Mel was on a date at a restaurant. Martell was supposed to be at a business meeting dinner thing, and he left his business dinner to go and confront Melody. And she's just like, that's unprofessional. You probably ended that meeting just so you could see where I'm at and what I'm doing. And he's like, so what? I don't care about that. And I'm like, this is exactly what Marcel was talking about. You so concerned with Mel and what she's doing. Like, how can somebody take you seriously as a businessman? You caught up running behind Mel trying to figure out what she's doing. Oh, when you do something, it ain't no problem. But when I do something, you run the social media. Y'all are not together. Y'all are not together. So what she does has nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing. So Mel says he's confronting them like, oh, what you want a date? He's recording them, taking pictures, and he's like, oh no, because you're gonna be my wife again. Right now, he trying to deny. Oh, I ain't never seen nothing like that. I ain't never seen nothing like that. She was like, you was just saying it the other day as well. So she going to look up receipts. He trying to put the picture of the other dude she was out on a date with in her face. Like, what are you proving, Martell? That you're a psycho? That's the only thing that I'm getting from this. Then he trying to act like he walking away. Oh, it's people around. It's people around. Okay, there was people around when you was confronting her on her night out with this man. Like, what is really wrong with you? I'm trying to figure it out. I think the other thing that was taking me down was the fact that he was just like, you taking somebody to our favorite restaurant, to our family's favorite restaurant. Like, so so what? So that argument pretty much ended this episode, and it looks like we'll see some more drama next week. You guys let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments down below, and I will speak to you next time.